again, we don't really do pool companies or electricians or plumbers anymore. We do mobile IV therapy and med spas. I can build a mobile IV therapy company with my eyes closed, with everything coming in and all that good stuff. But definitely figured it out along the way. It took a while, but definitely found out what needed to happen, what needed to grow, how you do point A, point B, it gets you to C, you do C, you go to D, and stepping stones. So basically, like, you start at step one, and then you keep going up because you figure it out on your own, and it sticks with you. What kind of work were you doing before marketing? I was a project manager for a construction company that dealt with Walgreens, T-Mobile, all this construction stuff, and I hated it. It just wasn't the best in the thing, and it kind of what it was. How does a guy doing PM work and marketing end up in the mobile IV industry? Yeah, it's funny. I still remember it like it was yesterday when I got into the mobile IV world. It was a Saturday. We were out in the garage. We were having a couple beers, 9 o'clock at night, and I got a message from an IV company asking for some marketing help, and it looked promising. So I reached back out right then and there. We set up a meeting, and the rest is kind of history. I went into that space. I saw the space, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Something about mobile IV therapy doesn't really just stick to me as, oh, there's a lot of money to be made. I think it's more of and some people might call it a cliche, but I really don't see it. But I think that the stuff that gets me in the mobile IV world is, that mom or dad that aren't doing too good, they're sick, and like they got to still take their kids to school, or the sister who just lost their dad and like they're not eating for some reason, and you go ahead and you donate them an IV or something, or the kid that's not doing well and you give them an IV and you perks right back up. I think I get a lot more fulfillment and a lot more gratitude when I see that happen, instead of helping some construction company land another client that's going to build another Walgreens. Something about this industry, resonates with me. I love it. So that's kind of how I ended up, staying on this path, because I could have easily just did mobile IV therapy for, 6 months and then just disappeared, but I decided to stay in it. So that's kind of where all that led to. So anyway, going back to the Reddit story, that's kind of how I got my first break. I decided, that company reached out to me that was in mobile IV therapy. They're a decent sized company, one of the bigger ones in Arizona. And, what happened with them was they really needed marketing. They didn't know what was, they didn't have anything on the back end. They just got rid of their stuff. And so we came in, negotiated pricing, all this stuff, and we got to work right away. And, more and more I did it, the more and more I found love with mobile IV therapy. Definitely they were already doing their thing. They were doing very well, but I decided when we came in, there was going to be a pivot moment, what we wanted to do. And we kind of did it. And, we lit the world on fire, in Arizona. What did it look like when you were done with it? So I recently ended my tenure with them, 5 years ago. Well, it was 5 years ago that I joined as a marketing company, and we did such a good job that they made me their CEO. So I went in and, we went from 2.1 million all the way up to 12 million. And I can't take all the credit on the $12 million mark. It was COVID, and COVID inflated numbers, as everybody knows. And, but after post-COVID, we were averaging 10 million a year, and we did a lot of work for that. And, I'm super proud of that number. I'm super glad that we were able to grow that company to 10 million a year. And, it took a lot of work. It took a lot of work. I don't think you guys really understand when it comes to building the company and, the position that I come from. I don't come from money. I don't come from expertise. I don't come from anywhere, I was technically going to school to be a nurse, went for 1 quarter, but I didn't come with a background of this. So to get a company to 10 million a year, it was a huge accomplishment on my end, and it kind of opened up my brain to more.